Your Viagra stopped working. Or maybe it never did. You're not broken. You're just using the wrong delivery system. Most men think the answer is always another pill. But today, I'm showing you why a specific nasal spray, part of what we call the werewolf stack, is fixing the problem for guys who thought they were out of options. Let's look at why your plumbing fix failed and why your brain is the actual key. I'm Dr. Fiona Gray. I've been in men's health for over a decade, and what I'm about to tell you is something most doctors won't. Not because it's dangerous, because there's no money in it for the people who write the prescriptions. I had a patient a few months ago. Mid-50s, let's call him Greg. Came in wearing a Steelers jersey, which, fine, but it was July. Anyway, Greg had been on Cialis for 3 years. Worked great at first. Then he needed a higher dose. Then a higher one. Then he started getting the side effects. The racing heart, the stuffy nose, the reflux that made him feel like he was digesting battery acid. By the time he sat down in my office, he was taking the maximum dose and getting maybe 60% of the result he used to get. And he was miserable about it. Here's what I told Greg, and here's what I'm telling you. Those medications, Viagra, Cialis, all the PDE5 inhibitors, they work by blocking an enzyme that breaks down nitric oxide. That's it. That's the whole trick. They let the nitric oxide you already have stick around longer so your blood vessels can relax and blood can flow where it needs to go. Sounds simple, but there's a catch. If your body isn't producing enough nitric oxide in the first place, blocking the enzyme that breaks it down doesn't help. You can't save what you don't have. It's like trying to stretch a paycheck that never arrived. And that's why these pills stop working, or never work at all. Depleted nitric oxide stores, damaged blood vessels, thickened penile tissue from years of reduced blood flow, hormonal imbalances, nerve damage from diabetes or hypertension, or sometimes just psychological blocks that disrupt the signaling before it even starts. The pills aren't designed to fix any of that. They're designed to work around it. And when the workaround stops working, most doctors just shrug and say, try a higher dose. There's another option, PT-141. The clinical name is bremelanotide, which sounds like something a chemist made up to win a Scrabble game. I don't know why we do this in medicine. We take something useful and then give it a name that nobody can pronounce or remember. Anyway, this is a peptide that's been studied since the late 1990s. Not new, not experimental. Just not profitable for big pharma, which is why you've probably never heard of it. See, peptides are strings of amino acids, basically smaller versions of proteins. They occur naturally in your body, and because you can't really patent something that already exists in nature, there's no billion-dollar incentive for pharmaceutical companies to market it to you. But here's why PT-141 is different from everything else you've tried. Viagra and Cialis work at the blood vessel level. They're mechanical, plumbing fixes. PT-141 works at the brain level. It's a synthetic version of a hormone called melanocyte-stimulating hormone, and it actually triggers arousal centrally, meaning it doesn't just help blood flow once you're already turned on. It can initiate the erection response, whether there's stimulation happening or not. Wait, I should mention, I actually had a colleague argue with me about this last week at a conference. He kept insisting that central arousal triggers were overhyped and that peripheral blood flow was still the primary bottleneck, which, sure, for some men, but he was completely ignoring the psychological ED population. Those guys have perfectly fine blood vessels. The signal just isn't getting sent. That's exactly who PT-141 was designed for. Let me say it more plainly. This works even when you're not already aroused. That's a completely different mechanism. And it's why PT-141 has been shown to work in men who got 0 results from Viagra. There was a double-blind, placebo-controlled study published in the Journal of Urology back in 2007. They specifically looked at men whose erectile dysfunction had the worst prognosis: damaged tissue, damaged blood vessels, the guys everyone else had given up on. PT-141 worked for them. Now, let me reframe that. I'm not saying this is some miracle peptide that fixes everything. It's not. There are side effects. Nausea is the big one. Usually lasts about an hour and then fades. Some guys report flushing, sweating, lower back pain. If you use the nasal spray version, it can leave a weird taste in your mouth. But honestly, spray anything up your nose and tell me it tastes like strawberries. There are two ways to take it. Nasal spray, which is what they used in the early studies. Sniff, sniff, and stiff, as the researchers so elegantly put it. Or subcutaneous injection, a tiny needle into the fat of your stomach. Most men actually prefer the injection because the absorption is more predictable. Dosing is, well, it depends. If you're treating actual dysfunction, somewhere around 4 milligrams. If you're just looking to enhance what's already working, more like 1 milligram. You have to figure out what works for your body. And here's where the werewolf stack comes in. Some men in the biohacking community combine PT-141 with a low dose of Cialis. The peptide works centrally to trigger arousal. The PDE5 inhibitor works peripherally to maximize blood flow once arousal kicks in. Two different mechanisms working together. Men report being rock hard for hours, hence the name. I'm not recommending you do this without medical supervision. I'm telling you it exists because you deserve to know your options. But here's what I actually want you to. No, forget that for a second. Let me tell you what matters more than any of this. All of this, the peptides, the pills, the stacks, they're workarounds. They're plan B. And sometimes plan B is necessary. But if your nitric oxide production is tanked, if your blood vessels are struggling, if the foundation is crumbling, you're going to keep chasing fixes instead of actually getting better. This is where the unsexy stuff matters. And I know you clicked on this video for the werewolf stack, not a lecture about vegetables. But I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't say it. Nitric oxide production comes from what you eat. Specifically, it comes from dietary nitrates that your body converts through a pathway that most men over 40 have completely neglected. Beets, leafy greens, watermelon. That last one is actually why flow exists. It's concentrated watermelon extract that supports nitric oxide production at the source. Links in the description. Not a replacement for PT-141 if you need it, but a foundation that makes everything else work better. And honestly, God, this drives me insane. The number of men who spend hundreds of dollars on peptides and prescriptions, but won't eat a salad, won't address the basics. It's like buying a sports car and filling it with vegetable oil because premium gas is too much effort. Fix the inputs, then add the interventions. Okay, rant over. Let me tell you what Greg did. He started with the dietary changes, hated it at first, complained constantly, but his nitric oxide levels improved over about 6 weeks. Then he added PT-141 as needed, about 4 milligrams, injected a few hours before he needed it. Last time I saw him, he told me his wife had asked what changed, because apparently she'd assumed they were just done with that part of their marriage. He got a little choked up saying it, actually. Still wearing that damn Steelers jersey. PT-141 isn't FDA approved for erectile dysfunction, which means your doctor might not mention it, but they can prescribe it. You can get it from compounding pharmacies, or if you're the DIY type, there are research sources online where you can buy it without a prescription and reconstitute it yourself. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm telling you people do. Here's your assignment. If the pills have stopped working or never worked, ask your doctor about PT-141, specifically, by name. Don't let them shrug you off with another dose increase. And while you're at it, look at what you're eating. Fix the foundation before you stack interventions on top of it. And drink some water. You're probably dehydrated. Most of you are.